I hope you're having a fantastic day and really getting into the Christmas spirit now. I've got my sketchbook out and today we're going to be painting an entire sketchbook spread based around ARTSY Christmas. Grab yourself a cup of tea, let's get cozy and let's get painting. If you haven't watched ARTSY Christmas, you really should. It's a great film, and I actually hadn't seen it myself until a couple of years ago was when I watched it for the first time, but it's actually been out over 10 years. Maybe it's not as well known as it should be. The film has a very similar vibe to Wallace and Gromit. It's British, funny and comforting, and it's so different to most other Christmas films. For this spread, I included Arthur. I also included Briony because she's my favourite character. I decided to pop Steve in there. And I also added the iconic slippers. They're the main components of this spread, and I often like to begin my spreads by doing the base skin tone of every character. Sometimes I will do the entire first layer of everything and then go back and add details to each piece. This is just because I like to use watercolor, and that first layer often takes a long while to dry because it has a lot of paint, it has a lot of water, and rather than waiting around, I prefer to do the first layer of each piece so that then when I go and actually refine it, I'm not spending ages waiting for pieces to dry. The main character is Arthur, Steve is his brother, and their dad is Santa. The film is based around identity and the belief that no one really knows who they are if they're not Santa. Well, everyone except for Arthur, he's not even considered the possibility of being Santa. And the film proves that the best Santa is really the person that never thought they would be and is actually doing it for the right reasons. The closest thing to a villain in this film is Steve, the older brother. And the film is very interesting in that way because Steve isn't exactly a villain. Steve was raised his entire life to be Santa when the time came, and he does deserve to be Santa. He does the job very well, he's just all about logic and statistics and doesn't really put emotion into it. Steve is voiced by Hugh Laurie, and I think he does an amazing job. He was raised and moulded to be Santa, and his dad is just not giving it up. So although he's technically the villain, and the first time I watched it through I thought he was the villain, the more I watch it, the more I see that he's completely overlooked. He works hard and none of it's appreciated. You can understand how he feels. He's been waiting for this opportunity his entire life. On paper, he's the right person to do it. He's already doing most of the work. It's a really interesting dynamic because he isn't really much of a villain. Though I did see someone point out that he looks like Paul Hollywood, and now I can't unsee it. Arthur is a genuinely nice character. He's always happy and cheerful, he feels the Christmas spirit, he idolises Santa. You want him to succeed because he's so lovely. It's not very often that you get such an authentic character like that. He's already super happy, he already loves Christmas, and his identity is just wanting there to be a Santa that succeeds, wanting Christmas to go right and be successful for everyone. And he's the person that has the strongest morals to what Santa should be. Briony is an elf and she is fantastic. She's my favourite character. Every single line she has is gold. I do wish there was more female representation, but she is an incredible character. She does kind of get overlooked, but she does have the best lines. The film in general is just so funny. The jokes are constant and throughout, to the point that you actually miss some of them the first time you watch this film. Which is great, because then when you rewatch it, you pick up on things you didn't quite notice the first time. Even little things like all of the details, like Steve's beard being in the shape of a Christmas tree. All of the code words have meaning. The detail on the elves' outfits, the montage at the beginning, you notice a lot more when you watch it the second time, and I love films like that. This Christmas film has a really fantastic concept. When I watched it for the first time, it just made sense. The idea is that there's a million elves, and the mission is kind of military and high-tech, So, Santa is able to get to every single house at midnight because the elves have like 18 seconds to do an entire house, and there's so many of them, and they cover the entire city in darkness. It's a huge mission with tons of well-trained elves, and it makes complete sense. I love the concept because it actually answers questions that most children have. How does Santa do it all by himself at midnight? And rather than just answering the question with, oh, it's magic, he does it with magic, they actually show you logistically how it could possibly work, and it kind of makes sense. It works because they're proving how it could in theory work, and it does make sense. Out of all of the Christmas concepts, that's the one that actually seems the most achievable. I'm now painting Briony, and you might be able to tell that she's very pink. I had to just gradually try and make the skin tone look a little bit more normal because I kind of saw her as pink, but I made her a lot more pink than she actually was. I mean, she's an elf, so she could be a little bit pink. The hair was actually less challenging than I thought it would be. It's quite a difficult haircut, but I think I did pretty well. Honestly, I'm happy with all of these sketches. I've never painted characters in this style before. I've done real people, but I've never based it off this kind of animated, similar to Pixar kind of style. I feel like I should do a Disney princess or something. That could be really cool. But yeah, this is my first time drawing in this style where I try to actually make them look like the characters, but the characters are animated. I think I often automatically try and paint things in my own art style, but for these characters that wasn't really possible because I wanted it to look exactly like them. I'm really happy with how it went. I'm just going in with watercolor, but honestly I didn't add too many layers. I did about 3 layers for each character. It just worked. Some days I can paint things and it just works and I'm super happy with it. I did struggle with Briony's nose, I must admit. It ended up going a lot darker. And also the ears I did struggle with a little bit as well. The clothing was quite difficult too. And it's kind of an action pose. I'm not used to doing full body poses like this, but I really love how it turned out. Maybe I should do more full body paintings like this. Maybe when I make OCs I should put them in really cool poses like this because it's just so cool. I do need to make my portraits a little bit more dynamic and interesting. Each of the characters have a lot of detail, and it's one of those things you don't really tend to notice until you're trying to create them. I find when I'm painting and drawing and staring at a character and trying to take everything in, I notice all these details that I wouldn't have noticed otherwise. And this often happens when I paint plein air outside. In all of those details in the landscapes that you don't normally recognise, the details in buildings or in trees, I feel like you don't tend to notice these things when you're just walking past, but when you're actually sat there trying to paint it and take everything in, you kind of see the world in a different way, and I really love that. And this was similar in the sense that I hadn't noticed all the detail they'd put into the characters until I actually painted them. That's one way in which plein air is fantastic though. If you've never tried it, you really should. It's so relaxing and fun, and you can learn a lot from it. I have quite a few plein air videos on my channel now, and I'll leave the playlist down below if you're interested in checking that out. I've also got some where we draw outside, and that's always fun. It was at this point in the sketchbook session that I felt like the page was just missing something. It needed that extra bit of sparkle, that extra bit of Christmas. It didn't have that fun, chaotic vibe that I was looking for. I'm looking in my washi box for anything that might fit the theme. I actually haven't got any Christmas or winter washi tape, which is really unfortunate. So instead, I tried to pick out anything that looked like it could be Christmas wrapping paper. This is actually something new that I'm doing. I started it for my Barbie sketchbook session. I added pink glittery washi tape and sparkles and just made it all fun, and I really love the way that looks, so I'm trying to replicate that here. I added green and red dots and baubles to the background as well. I hadn't noticed how much green and red was a theme in this movie until I was looking at all these reference photos. Like, every single character has green and red on them. So I thought my spread should really fit that theme. And once the page had been turned into a bit of a chaotic mess, I could actually visualize the spread. One of my art goals for this year was to use colour pencil more, so that's something that I'm doing, especially when it comes to watercolour. Little things like the teeth, the eyes, the lashes, eyebrows or hair, the nose, the jawline. There are so many details on the face that I've always used for a paintbrush, and now I'm using colour pencil and realising just how much easier that is. These characters don't seem to have eyelashes, but those are so much easier with colour pencils. I'm also using a gel pen to add some of those highlights to the eyes that got lost. I managed to keep Arthur's, but unfortunately the other two characters did lose the highlights in their eyes. It's an easy mistake. It's a fantastic film, and if you haven't seen it already, you should definitely check it out. There's a really lovely ending, and then in the end montage, you get to see everyone in their new roles, except for Arthur. I love that because it's like a year later, you don't actually need to see him to believe how he's doing. You know that he's doing well because he's the same he's always been. He's always been happy, he's always been himself, so he's not going to change. We don't need to see that. We watch every other character in their new roles being happy and seeing their end goals, but we know exactly how Arthur's doing, and I love that. Honestly though, there were so many Christmas films I could have done for this sketchbook spread. And if you want to see any more painting Christmas content, I have 2 movie scenes up on my channel that I've uploaded recently. I have Elf and Home Alone 2. It is a very similar format to the sketchbook session, but I pick a scene from each of those movies and paint them. And on Christmas Eve, we're going to be doing a really chill pencil sketch of the train conductor from the Polar Express, so make sure you're subscribed if you don't want to miss that one. And that's the spread complete. I really hope you like it. I'm really happy with how it turned out. I think Briony is my favourite. I definitely need to get some Christmas themed washi, but I think it's a really cute spread. I would love to know in the comments what your favourite Christmas movie is. Thank you so much for watching. Please like and subscribe if you have enjoyed this one, and I'll see you on Sunday for a new video. Bye bye.